Alright guys, so the topic of today's video is what does a tier list look like for, let's say, like an average level player, someone who like goes to tournaments at least somewhat regularly and goes anywhere from like 0-2 to 4-2. And you might be saying, you know, that's a big like window of players, and yes, it is a little big, and like, oh, an 0-2 is clearly low level, and it's like if they're going to events regularly, they're probably better than someone who hasn't gone to events or like does mostly Elite Smash, right? So just keep in mind that's kind of the group of people I talk about when I talk about this thing. Because when top players make tier lists, we make tier lists for top level play. We're assuming people, you know, can hit their combos, hit their tech, know their counter pick strategies, and all that stuff, right? Like the best of the best people. But a lot of times it doesn't really apply. Like, you know, a character like Sheik, a lot of top level players call really good, and then I look at a mid level player playing Sheik, and it's like, no, because you're not going to hit that really difficult stuff. Or like a mid level player playing Rosa, it's like you have to hit really hard tech to get like to a basically functional level with her, right? So she gets a lot worse as you get lower level in this game. Inversely, you know, characters have really simple game plans, simple combos, hit hard, don't have many particularly bad or easy to exploit weaknesses. All that stuff are generally going to rise up. I just think it'd be interesting to like show this tier list and talk about why I put the characters in different spots. And also the tiers are not ordered at all because once again, it's not the biggest deal. I just thought it'd be a fun video. Think of like the theory of this, right? So without further ado, here's a tier list. You ever want a chance to fight against one of the best Smash players in the world just to see what it's like while chilling with them, having a great time? Well, guess what? If you check out the Metafy link in the description below, you can get exactly that with people like me, Leo, Late Tweak. You can literally fight against any of the best people in the world. Just like click away. Boom. You guys may be going, oh my god, this tier looks so different from a normal tier list for the most part. And yes, it does. So let's start talking. Let's go from the bottom up, right? So we look at characters I put like in the D and even C tiers. And these characters tend to just be characters that don't have high damage output with individual hits, right? They need longer combos for the damage. A lot of times their kill confirms require more specific setups. And like knowing percents, knowing how to react to DI. And they just don't really have like moves that carry, right? You look at like the D and C tier and like, you know, maybe you got a projectile that's pretty decent, right? Like an aerial. But nothing that really stands out is like you can press this button pretty safely, like mash it and you'll be good, right? All these characters, most of them are pretty light and struggle to kill. And so like if you mess up, you're gonna die. And if you don't know your specific ways to get kills, they're gonna live really long. Or they just have some massively explode weakness. Like, you know, Zelda with the Phantom, granted. Some of these characters are just not great in general, and of course, like, no matter what level of play you're at, some characters are very good, some characters are not good. But you can see, like, I put Ices and Rosa and Meta Knight significantly lower here for, like, a mid-level player compared to, like, a really good player who can hit those ladders, hit those Rosa attack cancels, and hit the Ices desyncs. Or, like, even Duck Hunt, I put a lot higher for a player that can really optimize the space control provided by projectiles, hit those side B combos. Or with Wii Fit, I put it higher for a player who can hit those deep breathing combos, like use those windows of opportunity. So yeah, like these are characters that if a new player came to me and said, I want to learn this character, I'd say it's fine, but you're gonna struggle a lot with them. Next up, we get to like the Bs, right? And you know, there's a lot of different parts of the Bs. I think game's mostly well balanced until you hit like super top level in my opinion. But we look at like the B minus, and these are kind of characters that end up being polarizing. A lot of them have poor recoveries, but they hit really hard. And the thing is about lower levels of play is your poor recoveries aren't going to be exploited as much. Like I put Chrom, for example, B+, right? Because people aren't exploiting his recovery at mid-level. But top level, he goes to like B- because people throw him off stage and he's going to die a lot of the time. And then of course, like if you have characters with like one hit moves that do a lot of damage, or like 2-hit combos, like Gandalf doing down throw, nair, dash attack, up air, whatever. Like, not a great character, but still a lot harder to deal with when he hits you once or twice off a simple mistake and you die, and he gets to live long, exploit rage, and like you have to go off stage and kill him, otherwise, like you have to exploit his recovery, right? Or a character like Max, same thing. Also, I should mention, people tend to not camp as hard at mid levels. Like when you get to top level, the game gets extremely campy, right? Like you'll see timeouts more and more nowadays, part because of meta, but just the game is like, it rewards more defensive, safe playstyles, right? So a character like Mac is much better when people fight him. Same with Ike when people aren't just camping him out. Ridley, So yeah, character like Sheik drops super low, Sephiroth, super fragile. Characters like him who require you to take advantage of specific timing windows, in his case when he has a wing, can be really difficult for players to learn to use all the characters' buttons properly, account for differences in movement and stuff when like wing is out, or the fact that you have to play to live to a certain percent, which means you have to play to avoid kill moves, and then take advantage of that small window when you're like super amazing before you die and are like mediocre again. Right? So you get there. And then I think the B tier characters is kind of like a mixed bag. A lot of characters where it's like, yeah, pretty good neutral. You have things you can fall back on, right? Like Olimar just doing like Pikmin toss and throwing around the buttons. Zero Suit being fast. Toon Link projectiles. Same with Cave Roll and Deity. Like just projectiles that control a lot of space. Greninja being fast. Kirby being amazing if you fight him. Link having good hitboxes and projectiles and punishing people for not meticulously exploiting his slow speed. Right? So like these characters that kind of have simple win conditions you can fall on or fall back on, and good in moves, but don't really excel. Like none of these. I feel like most of these characters are generally worse as you get to most of them are generally worse as you get to higher levels, and the ones that are better, like Pokemon Trainer or Olimar or Zero Suit, require really good positioning or resource management. And then B plus. I think the main thing that differentiates the B and B plus for most of these characters is having a wing condition you can more reliably play towards. Like Corrin has a lot of very simple kill confirms, just like Nair Bear, up air, up air, up air, up air. Joker has Arsene, and down throw bear in the corner, right? Mega just throw projectiles, hit a back air eventually, or an up air. Robin has side B to death. Young Link has projectile spam to death. And you can just go along all this. And most of these characters have very simple combos that aren't too hard to hit and end stocks reliably, right? Or they just hit insanely hard, like Chrom does. He hits pretty hard if you can't edge guard him. Oof. Or Hero has spells and just, I have a buff, you're gonna die, right? Like you have to play against Hero in a specific way, and people don't know how to do that. Granted, Hero players at this level don't manage the mana the best. Is kind of like, a balance there. But that's the general idea of these characters, is simple win conditions and like not particularly easy to exploit weaknesses. Like, someone has to know to manage Arsene timer to fight Joker. Someone has to know to exploit like Bayo with not being good versus grabs and like her windows of vulnerability when she's doing all side Bs. And then we get to the A tier. And these characters hit really hard for low execution, or are just really hard to punish without knowing what to do, right? Like, you might be surprised I put Young Link here in B plus instead of A minus, and that's because you still have to learn your combos. You can still be edge guarded. And then compared to a character like Pac-Man, who I feel like Hydrant, just go behind Hydrant, get an item, toss it, throw some aerials near the opponent. Really good if you don't know how to deal with his aerials and Hydrant and the items he's tossing. Lucina throwing at aerials, just pretty big safe buttons that are hard to punish. Same with Byleth, and Byleth hits really hard. You can just cheese someone out with like a forward smash if they're not ready for it, or a down smash. Heavyweights naturally get really good until people hit their combos and their setups and avoid dying to DK up B at 80, or Incineroar countering a couple things and side B'ing you. Honestly, Shulk should probably be lower, but I always feel like Shulk just spamming aerials and basic Monado art usage should be like real hard to deal with. Brawler should be a little bit lower probably. He has like more precise combos and setups. But like FGC characters, all of them are just like, they have, once you spend a little time in the lab, and if you're playing FGC character, like you're gonna spend that lab time, right? Like it's one of the reasons you play them is like, I can go to the lab, master combos. And they have some very simple rewarding combos. Like Ken does like down tilt, up tilt, Shiryu. That's a lot of damage. That can kill. Any random aerial into that kills you. Side B, tech chase, whatever kills you. Ryu is the same thing, and then he has a good projectile fall behind, even if he's slower. Terry has Go Meter, which if people aren't killing Terry, he just activating Go moves that you can combo into if one's can down tilt, falling aerials. He has like multiple air burst options as well that if you don't know how to play around are really strong. So like you can see, it's like you just have these really polarizing like skewed risk reward moves that require counterplay from the opponent. That's very precise. And then when you get to the A characters for me all have moves that you can just kind of spam and just like win with pretty much, which I think checks out, right? Like all these characters like Falco up tilt, Mario up air, fireball, smash attacks, Ness. Every button he has pretty much. Aegis, every button the character has. Roy, every button, like, right? Like, most of these characters are like, you press a button. Yoshi is known for being the mashing character. Sonic has spin dash, which, broken move. Cloud has everything. Although, I would maybe put Cloud here, because you have to be able to space his aerials, and notice, like, lower level Cloud players struggle to really space his aerials, and they're easy to punish. But it's like, that's the idea. They're all pretty spammable buttons that can do a lot of damage. Like, Yoshi hits you with anything, right? Sora hits you with anything and just does, like, nair, up air, nair, up air, spam spells. Falco up tilts into imagination. Mario up airs. Aegis, you do have to learn your combos a little bit, but, like, as long as you're not super messing up, you can just press buttons, hit your opponent over and over. The only thing about Aegis otherwise is a lot of Aegis players mess up really badly and die really early. Like, they'll be hitting the corner, roll into the corner and die at 20 from a random move, and it's like, mid-level Aegis players. But yeah, so it's like these characters just have, and they're also generally good characters, right? Like, the only character that really wouldn't be higher up on a tier list would be like Ness. And even Ness is still pretty high up on a tier list in my opinion, like A-, B+. And then like Falco might be like B+ on a tier list nowadays. So also just genuinely good characters. I know Sonic not being in top 5 minimum is surprising. That's because I find like mid-level Sonic players to not be good at exploiting their leads and to be awful at getting a lead back, which is an issue for him, right? You do have to get close, find your openings to whiff punish people, and like if you can't find that opening to whiff punish someone, he is gonna struggle a lot. And then you get to just the S tier characters, right? And these are the characters that, yeah, they're just baby mode pretty much. Like, they just have absurd things that are hard to play around. If you don't know how to play around, then give ridiculous reward. Like Kazuya, you do have to learn Kazuya combos, right? But you go on Elite Smash and it feels like every Kazuya there hits their 0 deaths, and it's like, okay, they're not that hard to do with some practice on most characters. Same with Luigi, 0 deaths or 0 80s. Not really that hard to do with a little bit of practice. Min Min does arms, and like they have to nerf Min Min because she was too broken at casual level play. Like mid-level play, you just do arms with Min Min, they lose. Game Watch, press button, win. Up B as shield is like, even at top level invalidates a lot of characters. But low level, you literally just have to run around shield up B and do some basic like ledge trapping with neutral B, and that's it. Palutena, run up there, do some projectiles. Maybe you could just put her in A tier. But then I kind of look at her and go like, no, as long as you space some back air and do some basic projectiles, do some nairs, it's such a strong, effective game plan. And like punishing her teleport's hard. Like punish the fact that she's fast is hard. Like knowing how to exploit her ground game is hard. Rob is just whatever you want. Samus can just kind of do charge shot, basic grab mix-ups, and let's shot with down B, and it's like, that does everything for you. Snake is interesting because he is actually a really high skill ceiling character, but grenades is also like hard to deal with. Like he's both high skill ceiling, right? And he has like a lot of exploitable weaknesses, but then grenade is just such a like great move that so many people just can't properly fight. You can kind of just use it and you'll hit people and they'll be like, how do I deal with grenade? How do I deal with C4? How do I not die 80 up tilt? And then Steve is self-explanatory, right? Granted, I would honestly say like at like mid-level, you could argue like Kazuya or Luigi are better than Steve. Because Steve, once again, he has some like tech skill requirements to get really good with him. And like his combos are easy, but like his super crazy broken combos require some practice. And they require like recognizing DI and character weights and stuff, right? But the point is, yes, like, you know, there's still a general trend of which characters are good and not good. There is a pretty big variance in skill brackets on where I'd place characters. Which also goes to showcase a lot of the really good characters in this game are the really simple ones. Just because when you have less to think about execution-wise, it's easier to focus on playing the game properly. I'm not going to rant too much. The point is, I thought it was an interesting topic. I wanted to rant. I ranted. I hope you guys enjoyed this rant. Let me know your thoughts are below. Do you kind of agree with this idea? Do you disagree? Do you think this tier list for mid-level play is just completely inaccurate? And yeah, with that said, guys, hope this was interesting. Catch you later. Peace.